Good Friday morning, everyone, and welcome to Kenneth's Educational Corner. Now, one thing we're going to start doing is we are still going to send the Educational Corner out in our main constant contact with all the other articles that we send out every week, but we're also going to resend just my educational video out on Monday. So you'll get a chance, if maybe you don't have time to look through everything on Friday, you get a chance to look at my educational video at least on Monday. So you'll begin to see that. We want to really get this education out. In this video today, I've been thinking about it all week, actually for a couple of weeks, because we really need to talk about this subject. There's two areas in the stock market when you can get hurt, and it all comes back to emotion as usual. One place you can get hurt is if the market is low, if we have a bear market or a big correction, and you panic and you sell on the bottom and you lock in those losses. That's an obvious problem for investors, and that's why you want to make sure you're at the right risk level with the right diversification. And if you're working with us, that should be happening. That's why we run all these Riskalyze reports, and if you have not done one with us, definitely let us know, and we can run you through the Riskalyze report and see what risk you are currently at. Now, the second place that investors get hurt is in a euphoric market, which is what we're seeing right now. I get publications and subscriptions, and I hear what's going on in the market around the country. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, getting a lot of articles talking about investors are now chasing returns. They're going from what a few months ago they were conservative or moderate investors, and now they're all of a sudden going from conservative or moderate to very aggressive, and that's a dangerous warning sign. So if you are truly a conservative or moderate, don't go chasing returns, because you will get whipsawed. Sooner or later, this market's going to pull back and correct. We don't know when that is, and that's not the reason I'm doing this video. Because another thing that sometimes people do is try to time when to get out of the market. That's another problem. Yeah, sure, we can take some profits off the table and build up a little cash so that whenever the market does correct, we're ready to buy it on sale. But that doesn't mean you go to all cash, because you could also miss out on a lot of returns. You know, they've been talking about this market was going to turn down last year and the year before and 3 years ago. Think about what you would have missed out on this year if you hadn't been invested. But there's a difference between being invested correctly with the right amount of risk than chasing returns and all of a sudden going from a moderate investor that might have a Riskalyze score of a 55, and now all of a sudden you want to be an 85 score, which means more drawdown when the market does correct. So it's important to stick with what you're comfortable with. So as we go into this holiday season, I want you to be thinking about this. A lot of times we get around people, especially right now, you're going to parties and you'll hear people bragging about, hey, I made this return or that return. Listen, we have models right now. Our top model, Focus Growth, is up 33% this year. It's very aggressive. It's not a portfolio model for most investors because they wouldn't be able to stomach the downside. But if you want to be aggressive, we have the models for you that are beating the S&P 500 index all to pieces. So don't think that we can't go there. If you really are aggressive and want to be aggressive, we're ready. But for people that are in retirement and going into retirement, most of the time you dial it back. And that means you're not going to get all the upside like maybe a 30-year-old. They've got time on their side. So if this is a subject you want to talk about and we can do your risk score, let us know. Come in and we can talk about it. We are not seeing much of this in our practice. I'm talking about as a whole, it's happening. Now, we've seen it a little bit just the last few weeks, people talking, and we have seen it on 1 or 2 occasions. So it's like this. If I can use a baseball analogy, Babe Ruth hit a lot of home runs. he also struck out more than anybody else. So he took a lot of chances. Whereas Cal Ripken Jr., Mr. Consistency, I would say he was a pretty good ball player, but he was known for hitting those singles and doubles and the occasional home run. You know, if I can use a football analogy even, if you are ahead, if the Carolina Panthers are ahead by 3 or 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, I would hope that the coach is not calling for a long pass play on every down and taking those type of chances. So you don't want to do that either with your financial game plan. If you've already won the game, then I don't think that you want everything in aggressive. You've got to remain diversified. We've talked about that in Education Corners, how the most consistent investor returns are when someone is diversified among a lot of different sectors, whether it be large cap, small cap, mid cap, whatever it may be. You are diversified among those, and that's what we do here when we design your portfolio. So you may have one bucket that's aggressive, and that's okay, and that bucket is going to have higher returns, and you might have another bucket that's conservative or has no risk at all. So that's the way we want to design that. The last thing I wanted to mention today, the best place to get educated on some of this about 2018 and what the market looks like in 2018 is at our yearly annual market outlook, which is coming up. And it's the first Monday in February, which happens to be February 5th. I think I mentioned this last week on my video and I said February 7th. I apologize. It is on February 5th. That'll be in the evening at McKimmon Center. You all will be getting invites if you can be there. It's a 2-hour. We're going to hear from Mike Sorrentino from Global Financial Private Capital and Tim Sargent from Sterling Capital. These guys are pros. They're around the analysts every day. They're digging in and they know the pulse of the market and how to be an investor that's going to win the game. My goal for you as your advisor is that we win the game, not at all costs, not getting caught up in euphoria and running from, I'm a conservative, now I'm going to chase over here to the next return in aggressive. That's not what it's about. So I know you guys are smart. I want you to be a smart investor, and in order to do that, you do have to be diversified, and you have to guard against those emotions. And sometimes it is so hard to do, to not get emotional about an up market like we're at right now or a down market. So we're here for you. We're here to help. Let us know if you need anything. Give us a call if you want to discuss any of this. Again, we're not seeing much of this because I think we've done a pretty good job of already educating you guys on being diversified and not paying attention to all of the noise out there. But it's harder this time of the year because you are going to be getting around a lot more people, and people love to brag about how much money they've made and what their returns are and how smart they are. But the smart investor is going to be the diversified investor that doesn't get caught up in the emotion and chase returns. So thank you for listening today. Important subject. Have a Merry Christmas, great New Year, and let us know if you can help. Again, mark your calendars for February 5th. You want to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. This year we're just going to have 2 speakers. I know last year we had about 4, but this year we're just going to have Mike and Tim. So a lot of people want to hear more of them, and especially last year they wanted to hear more of Mike. So we're doing that this year. Looking forward to that event. Again, watch for the invitation coming out in the next few weeks, and bring a friend, bring a neighbor. We want to pack the McKimmon Center. So thank you again. Have a great weekend.